It's so great to be back with everybody.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Kelly.
Hello, hello. Is everybody having a joyous day? Hopefully, you've been doing something fun. Hopefully, you've already gotten your sunshine and water and movement, and you are set for the day.
Yeah, hopefully you're having a great start to that day.
I was chatting with Heidi, you guys, because I've had a couple conversations with women lately. And sometimes we have conversations and then we like stop talking about them. And this is what a conversation that has been not talked about for a little while. But it's always good once I have a conversation with some person that I'm like, ooh, it's still on the head of other women.
Yeah.
So we're talking to you women out there that either you could be premenopausal, you could be postmenopausal, but women who are aging and they're starting to have changes and they're maybe realizing as you go to have your blood work done with your doctor that some of your cholesterol numbers maybe have not been trending in the right direction. And normally, when we go into our medical professionals, it's like, oh, the doctor says we need this. Then we say yes.
Mhm.
And again, Dr. Heidi and I always want you guys to become the CEO of your health. You need to ask questions, ask why, know what's going on. I mean, it was so odd. I just went in for my outpatient procedure of a colonoscopy the other day, and I was asking them, "Well, I don't want any pain medications. What are you using? What are you putting me to sleep with? What like?" And they thought I was crazy that I was asking them these questions. And I just said, "Well, I want to know what you're putting in my body, right?" Like,
Yeah.
I don't, you can, Heidi, maybe you can still see it. I have this massive bruise on the
Oh,
inside of my arm still because she blew out my vein because I was a little dehydrated. Hello?
hello.
They,
They
hello?
didn't tell you like you're
I
gonna
mean,
you gotta drink a lot.
I
Uh,
tried and I don't have big veins to begin with. So she blew that one out and then she had to go get the teeniest little needle, stick in my hand. But the reason why I even say that is I was asking all these questions and we want you guys to ask. It's your health, your body. But one of the things that's not being asked is when you're given a prescription by a doctor, why do you need it? What's happening in my body? Is there another way? And what are the side effects, right? I mean, and so statins have become this, they were this miracle drug that everybody was on. They were the star of like, oh, you have high cholesterol, statin, 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 statin. And now, and Heidi, I'll have you unpack this a little bit of one, we're realizing the research was heavily done on men and not women. Men and women are very different, but cholesterol has a protective health benefit that even if we have high cholesterol, is that really bad? Do we need to get it down? What is really high? And what are we all at risk for? So, before we dive into all those questions, you guys, because I just gave Heidi a mouthful, let us do a quick introduction. So, Dr. Heidi, for all of our guests and people that are new to us, do a little intro for our audience.
yeah, I'm Heidi Aratzable. I'm a naturopath, certified functional medicine, and certified functional medicine clinician. I've been practicing for over 20 years. Um, I come into functional medicine from a athletic background, always looking for the best way to eat, the best routine for recovery to have a better performance, always trying to achieve naturally the best, ultimate, highest optimal performance I could possibly have. And it wasn't until I went to Europe and I raced on a European bicycle racing team and I was a teammate of the world champion that I learned so much about other modalities, all the natural options and very effective ways that food is medicine. And so it was really functional medicine. I just didn't know it. It was more, this is the way you eat to get achieve this result. This is the way you eat so you don't get injured when you're in high performance. So anyway, all that to say, I had a deep dive into that and I thought to myself, when I retire from this, every woman should feel like this. Everybody should feel like this. It should have this information because it's effective, it's usable, it's user friendly. And so that's I committed my life after that to bringing wellness, good health information to people. And I've partnered with Kelly, really focusing on longevity, women's health, which is greatly ignored, And yeah, so here we are.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Thank you, Heidi. And for those of you that are new to me, Kellie Lupsha, been in the health and wellness field also for like 30 years. My background was a physical therapist, helping people recover from brain injury and concussion and strokes and neurological disorders. And really, as I went into from 40 into 50, realized that I needed to optimize my life and my health and take control so I could feel vibrant and not just feel like crap by the time I hit 50, because that is the most common thing out there. So many women all of a sudden are overwhelmed, having these symptoms because they've not been paying attention and giving themselves what they need over the past 10 years. And now here we are of, well, now what? And
Yeah.
people want the quick fix. And
Mhm.
there are really some basics that I want to help people with get back to doing, because our bodies are truly just this miracle if we give it the right modalities.
Yeah.
But one of the things that comes along with this and aging is all of a sudden I've got high cholesterol and I need to be on a statin. So if you're live with us, let us know. Drop a 1 in the comments if you guys are like, oh my God, my doctor told me to be on a statin. I'm on a statin. I have high cholesterol. Drop a 1. Let us know, because it's very, very common.
Yeah. It's so common. It's a little bit scary because in fact, I'm glad you brought it up because I just had one of my really terrific friends, one of the first people I've ever met when I moved to Texas, who is an avid runner, an avid athlete. And she said, "Do statins give me muscle weakness?" And I went, "What are you doing on a statin?" Like,
Yeah.
and yes is the answer. So it really goes, here, one of the healthiest people I know, and she's on a statin. She's been told she has high cholesterol. Here we have to dial that back and say, well, what is the point of cholesterol?
Yeah, great.
If
Let's
the
start there.
body is this wonderful machine, why is it making cholesterol? What does it do for us? Well, so much. It protects our organs, it makes hormones. So think about it. Most women, when they go in and they're having a metabolic hormonal storm in perimenopause, and it can start late 30s, early 40s for some women, if they don't pay attention, like you were saying. And this metabolic storm is creating more inflammation, and cholesterol markers are inflammatory markers. Um, but our body is trying to adjust with hormones. So it is very typical for a woman's cholesterol to go up 10 to 20 points during that perimenopause because the body's still trying to figure out, do I need more hormones? Do I not need hormones? Do I want more hormones? And so it's got to upregulate or increase its amount of cholesterol to then make the hormones, the pregnenolone, the HEA, that gets split off into testosterone, estrogen. And so we have that process in place, but that's the top tier. That's where it comes from. So the total cholesterol should not be the number, and the research backs that up. It should not be the number that we really focus on because that is fluctuating with inflammation, with hormone adjustments. Am I giving too much too quickly?
Absolutely not, you guys. Come
Okay.
on, right? We can
Okay.
handle all this,
We
right?
can do
Right?
this, right?
We're good.
What
This
we
is like
want
good stuff, you guys.
to what we want to look at is the ratios of LDL, lousy cholesterols, the more sticky, and the with triglycerides. And the triglycerides are the sugar, right? Triglycerides are insulin resistant. Oftentimes those will increase during the perimenopause as well. And they're given a statin. Statins don't lower the triglycerides. Certain statins are better or have an impact on the triglycerides than others, but that's not where it's coming from. And that's what we have to always ask is, why is it there? What is causing it to go up? Is it something I can change in my eating, in my sleep, in my workouts? And answer to that is yes, because the triglycerides are going to represent more insulin resistance sugars, where the LDLs, that's fat. So when you go in your pan and you put some butter in there and then you throw in a little sugar, what does it do? It clumps up. That's what it's doing in your system as well. So if those numbers get too close together, um, they're going to be clumping. That's when we get into danger for risk of stroke and clotting and things like that. But that is all manageable without a statin.
So what would typically when a doctor would say, I want you to go on a statin, what does the doctor in their mind saying that will lower? Not triglycerides. What will that lower? Total cholesterol, LDL? What is it?
Total cholesterol and LDL,
Okay.
right? And then again, it's all about the ratios because what's your HDL? Your HDL is your hot, hot cholesterols that go up to the LDLs that want to hang out in our vessels and clog arteries and things like that. And the HDL goes, hey, why don't you come on with me? And they escort them out, right? So they're lovely. So we want those aplenty, 55 or above. If those get too high, then they break it down in particle size. Boston Labs, Heart Labs, they do this wonderful breakdown of particle size. And that's what you want. Before you go on a statin, you want to look at your particle size. Break it down. What's your LP little a? What's your APOBs? Let's see what particles about that cholesterol is worthy of a statin, if that. And what do we want to lower? So just the total number of LDL or cholesterol is not, it's not significant enough. We just don't, it's not good enough.
Yeah. So let's use a few numbers, Heidi.
Yeah.
Like, let's say people go in, I think historically, when people hit 200, it's like, right? And I'm like, that's like nothing. My total cholesterol is over 200, right? But I got the sky high HDLs. But it's all of a sudden the worry. And I'm like, no, that's, again, let's go back to ratios, but let's just give people some examples.
Yeah. So the cutoff, when you look at the range on typical blood work, it is 200. And people could be 210 and it'll flag it as high. It's not really. When you look at the research for Alzheimer's, dementia, too low of cholesterol can harm the brain because the brain is 70% fat, right? Cholesterol. So we lose that protective mechanism for our brain function if we lower our cholesterols too low. Typically, anything, a total cholesterol below 150 or below is not healthy. And where they're finding the most benefit for brain health is around 230. So basing it on just that total cholesterol is not really helpful and not a worry. I've sat it because of my genetics. I have horrible cholesterol genetics, and I've been up to 260 at sometimes. And I see that, and I'm like, okay, I gotta change my diet a little bit, gotta work out a little bit differently. But that was when I was in the perimenopause. I was at the height of gaining weight. Everything I did made more weight come on. It was the most frustrating time of my life in terms of I'm doing everything right? And this cholesterol is climbing. So, but this is a byproduct of that event, right? So back down now, ratios are great without a statin. It's just, I think we have this knee-jerk reaction and the doctors, have these numbers that they have to fit, and that's what they're trained to do. It's not, and so they give out the statin. The LDLs you don't want really, I think they let you go to 130. So anything under that is great. HDLs, anything above 55. Really crazy high, again, you want to look at particle size. And then the triglycerides, you want to sit between 70 and 80. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the test actually says, under 100, but everybody else is saying like really like 75 to 90, 75, 85, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a tough one. I think that's for a lot of people, that triglyceride number to hit that 75 to 85 is a little tougher.
It's tough because I can't tell you the number of women that come in, and it's I just had a review this week and her triglycerides were 48. And I said, you're starving yourself. Do you think if you eat fat, you're going to get fat? Do you still believe that? And she's like, well, kind of hard not to. I'm like, nah. You're eating more sugar and not enough fat.
Wow, so her triglycerides must have been higher.
Her triglycerides were low, but so she's not getting enough fuel. So what
Ah,
will her body do to compensate for that? Make more fat. Cholesterol will go up. You see, the body is always seeking balance, seeking homeostasis. And so this is why hormesis or a challenge on the body is really good, because it forces the body to pull in reserves and really think about what it's doing to regain balance. So if we get too much stuff going on over here, the body's going to try to bring it down and create a balance. So if the triglycerides are going too low, cholesterol, LDLs are going to go up, and we don't get a good ratio there.
yeah. Wow, you guys. So let's take a pause on all the numbers and talk about, all right, we got a man and a woman. Why is it more, um, you know, whoa, stop the show if it's a woman versus a man, around this, let's just call it 50 age, right? Because this is when I feel like the big statin talk starts to come out.
Yeah.
Why is it like more, um, potentially statins are more detrimental to women than men?
Yeah. What's really interesting is most of the studies were done on men and men of a certain age group. Um, and not really women. They weren't big studies done on women and things like that. What was interesting is when they finally did do a study on women, they found that women who started statins after menopause or towards the end of the peri into the menopause, their risk of insulin resistance or diabetes increased 40%.
Oh my word.
That's crazy high. Like, okay, we shouldn't give women after this particular time a statin because it increases the insulin resistance. And then the next thing was blood pressure. But oddly enough, if you start a man on statins, I guarantee you, I should say that, but I see it all the time. Within a year, they're either insulin resistant or they're on blood pressure medicine. And this is the trend: statin first, then it's usually blood pressure, then it's usually diabetic medication.
This is crazy, especially
Yeah.
because now this whole story of metabolic health, yes, it's been diabetes and insulin resistance, but what I'm like shouting from the rooftop is that means you're on your way to cognitive decline.
Yep.
If that's the pattern, you are setting yourself down the road to cognitive decline, whatever that's going to look like for you. So we have to think, oh my gosh, do we want this? And for women, protecting the brain is extra important because once we're losing all of our estrogen, that's been our brain protection.
Exactly. That's been our brain protection. So well said. And so the decline is real and women feel it, like really feel it. So taking a statin actually makes all that feel worse. Yeah. And is this why, one of the reasons why, or definitely a contributing factor in the rise of dementia and Alzheimer's? Is it because we do the statin thing and then we do the blood pressure thing? If you have poor blood pressure and poor blood flow, you're not getting oxygen to your brain, you're not getting nutrients to your brain, you're denying it some of the fat, the cholesterol, and then you're flooding it with sugars, insulin resistant, with processed food, etc. It's a dementia storm.
Yeah. Wow. And I just think it's so common. They've been around now for so long that it's just a no-brainer because it's one of those things like, oh, I'm on a statin. Oh yeah, once you're on 50, oh, I'm on a statin too.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, it may be common, but it is not normal for the body to need it. The body is never deficient of a medicine. We are never deficient in a statin. We have to think why and what can we do to help. And if somebody's cholesterol is a little high, then I think the big thing is what is your risk of weighing this, especially for women around this age of what is my family history? What is my particle size? What's going on with me? And is it at risk of heart attack or stroke? They scare you to thinking like, well, if you don't take it, then this is what's going to happen. So, okay, I guess I'll just take it.
Yeah. Like the next day, I'm going to have a stroke. I'm going to have a heart attack. Like, there's so many other things you can do because of the fact, coming right back around to what you said at the beginning of the talk, is the body is an amazing machine. It is not deficient in all these things. What it gets deficient in is good nutrients, good fuel, good timing of that fuel, and the messaging to the data and the machine in there that's looking for that data, called micronutrients, minerals, essential minerals, amino acids, protein. It's all about what we feed our body, what we fuel our microbes with, and this machine will function so incredibly well.
Wow, I love that. So I'm going to add into that, Heidi, quickly, just a little bit about sleep, because many people struggle with sleep around this time of, age, and they're like, maybe they're, hot, cold, whatever it is, they're not having great sleep. And we need to really address that because that's where the body does rest and repair. And that's where all of those hormones can really help being rebalanced. And I'm bringing this up because I have a group of friends. One of the hottest topics right now is a lot of people are on products, whether it's a medication or taking some things natural to support the GLP-1 hormone. But what I just heard last night is there's a group that are taking a brand new GLP-1 all natural system. And what was unanimous was a lot of them track their sleep. So the few of them that use trackers like the Aura Ring said the time they're spending in deep and REM sleep, they've never had great numbers like this ever. They can't believe this sleep. And I'm thinking, wow, there's so many systems that interplay. So if you can have deeper sleep, you're going to repair better. Your hormones may be better. That may affect your cholesterol levels more. And it's like, let's just get this body, let's like do all these tweaks to get the body back in before we just start throwing the medication garbage. Because once you start one, that is true. Here comes 2 and 3.
Yeah. And after you're on 3 or 4, anything else you're just taking because of the side effects of the previous ones. And it becomes a real vicious cycle. And then you never know what's causing what or why you're feeling this and that, etc. And then you get treated for something completely different, but it's really just a side effect of the first thing. So
who's on first? Then
who's on first?
It's like, where do we start? Too many cooks in the kitchen. Now who's going to figure this mess out? And it becomes difficult. Well, ladies, I hope this was really educational and you're like, that it's not the answer. Unless you seriously have very high cholesterol levels, you're doing all the right things, you still can't get it down. There's really some other ways that you can have some answers to this question. Reach out to Dr. Heidi and myself. If you're like, I'm one of those people, help me find a better answer. I don't want to go on a statin. We're here for you. We're here to help you. But we really wanted to clarify that statin's not the star and we all shouldn't be on it.
Yeah.
And ask better questions.
Yeah. We have to have a caveat in here in saying there are certain situations where a statin is a necessary tool.
Yes.
And thank goodness they came up with them, right? So there is genetic predispositions. There are some numbers you want to consider, but really nothing should be considered without a full particle size, complete panel to just look at cholesterol, LDL, HDL, triglycerides, VLDL. It's not enough.
Not enough.
Yeah.
Not enough. So you guys be your advocate. Go be that CEO, be in charge. Don't let them question you when you ask questions. Be like, I should ask questions. It's my body.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You know,
Yeah.
like you got this. Own yourself. So, well, thank you, Heidi, for coming in and sharing with our audience. I hope you guys had some like aha moments of really like looking at the data. It's kind of cool. And looking at all the other ways that might influence your body of what you can do to lower your cholesterol should you need to. But if it's creeping up and you're in that perimenopause area, that like let the things flow as they may. Let these changes happen before we just jump on the bandwagon to put the band-aid over what, you know,
Right.
what they think
Right.
is the answer.
Exactly. Or to suppress a function that is in the process of trying to help you.
Yes.
Think about that.
Yes. Complete the process.
And then, yeah, Kelly, that GLP-1, we have to have a talk about it. I think there's a lot of myths about it and worries about it. And truly the peptide therapy is profound and amazing. We need to, yeah, chat about
You
that.
guys
Whoever's
will stay
interested, let us
tuned.
know.
Yeah. Stay tuned. It will be coming hot your way. And we're excited to bring it to you because we always want to bring you the latest and greatest in health benefits. How can we optimize our health and wellness? So stay tuned. And we'll see you next week.
Take care, everyone. Be well.
Bye.